now doing Perek Vav, and we just read about the Song of Devaira and the fact that there was a period of Shalom of 40 years, and then we get back to the same old story. Vayasu b'nei Yisrael Rabbi Einei Hashem, b'nei Yisrael did evil in the eyes of God. And now we have yet another enemy that enslaves us and subjugates us. Vayitnem Hashem biyad Midyan. Now Midyan is, of course, coming from Bnei Keturah. It is one of the children that Abraham had from Keturah, which is actually Hagar, so he's a brother of Ishmael. He is south of Eretz Yisrael, and the Midianites subjugated us for 7 years. V'ta'az yad Midyan al Yisrael b'nei Midyan, asu lahem b'nei Yisrael as min harot, asher b'harim, v'yes ha'ma'aros, v'yes ha'mitzados. That because of the fear of the Midianites, they simply couldn't go around their normal business. They created minharos, so this is the source of the word tunnels. They created different tunnels and caverns and caves. In other words, people were not even living in their homes. They were living underground. They were living in caves. They were living in tunnels because of the Midianites. And it mentions that the Midianites were not simply foreign occupiers, but they were constant harassers. V'haya im zera Yisrael, if a Jewish person planted something, v'ala Midyan v'Amalek, Amalek assisted Midyan, uvnei Kedem, other tribes of the east, meaning the other Bnei Keturah, Alu alav, they would take the harvest of the Jews. In fact, it doesn't always mean they took it. They would sometimes just destroy it, meaning it was vandalism, not even for the purpose of stealing. Vandalism lishma, I'm going to destroy your crop, even if I'm not going to take it. That the Midianites would come with Amalek and the other Bnei Kedem, the children of the east, the other Bnei Keturah, and they would destroy the Yavol Haaretz, they would destroy the produce of the land, Ad Boach Aza, all the way to Aza, which is on the Mediterranean coast. V'lo yashiru michra b'Yisrael v'sev v'shor v'chamor. And there was no michya, there was no way a Jew could make a living. And they didn't have their sheep and their oxen and their donkeys. Even the animals were plundered. Ki heim umikneim yalu, that the Midianites would come with their animals v'aleim and with their tents. Kedei arbel l'rov, like locusts. They were like the locusts, swarms of locusts, l'rov. V'lahem v'lagmalehem ein mispar, and there was no number to them and even their camels. Vayavo bi'aretz l'shachasa, and they came to the land and they destroyed it. Vayidal Yisrael ma'aid mevnei Midyan, and the Jewish people became severely impoverished because of Midyan. And once again, that was ma'iras teshuva. Vayizaku b'nei Yisrael el Hashem, and they cried out to the Almighty to save them. Vayihi, and behold, it was Kizaku b'nei Yisrael el Hashem, as they cried out to Hashem, alodos Midyan, because of the Midianite persecutions. Vayishlach Hashem ish navi el b'nei Yisrael, Hashem sent them a navi to give them both chizuk and musar. Now the navi's name is not given. Rashi brings from the Seder HaOlam that this is Pinchas, who is the Kohen Gadol. Vayomer lahem, what do you guys expect? Kayamar Hashem Elokei Yisrael. This is the Navi speaking. In the name of Hashem, this is what Hashem says. Anoichi eleisi yaschem miMitzrayim. I took you out of Mitzrayim. Oitzi yaschem mibeis avodim. I redeemed you from the house of slavery. V'yatzil eschem miyad Mitzrayim. I saved you from the Egyptians. Umiyad kol ochatzeichem, and from the hands of all that oppressed you. In terms of the wars in Eretz Yisrael itself, in Yoshua's time. V'yagarish asam mipneichem. I expelled them. Etno lachem es artzom. I gave you their land. Look at what I've done for you. But there was a condition. There was a price. V'yimra lachem. I told you. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am your God. Lo siru es Eloheu Amori. Do not fear the fake gods of the Amorites. Asher atem yeshvim b'artzim, that you're living in their land. I told you, don't be nimshach to that avodah zarah. V'loi shamatem b'koili, and you did not listen. So what do you expect to happen? Take Musar, do tshuva, change your ways, and things will be different. We now have a second prophetic encounter. The Navi again is called a Malach Hashem, an angel of God, but that really means a prophet of God, a Shaliach of God. Now we don't know if this is Pinchas or somebody else, but it says, Vayavai Malach Hashem. Actually, some of Farshim actually learn this is an angel, and some learn this is a Navi. So there's a machlekes about Malach Hashem here. Vayeshev tachas ha'ela asher biyavcha asher liyayash avi ha'ezri. The Malach Hashem came. He sat under an oak tree in the town of Afra, and that tree was the property of a man called Yayash from the family of Avi Ezer. Now, Avi Ezer is a subclan of the tribe of Menashe. So that means we're dealing with the tribe of Menashe on the west bank of the Yarden. Gidain Benai. Gidain is the son of Yayash. Chovei Tchitim. He is threshing wheat. Bagas, in a wine press, meaning he's threshing wheat in a place that you normally don't go to thresh wheat. And he's doing it, Lahanis Mipnei Midjan, kind of a hide from the Midianites, who if the Midianites saw a wheat harvest, they would go and plunder it. Vayera Elav Malach Hashem. And this angel of God, okay, let's learn it's an angel, it is a machlokas, but a malach turned to Gideon and said, Hashem imcha gibor hachayil. God should be with you, gibor hachayil, a man of valor and courage. Vayomer elav Gideon, and Gideon said to him, Be Adonai, please my master. Gideon does not know that this is an angel. Yesh Hashem imanu. Is God with us? If God is with us, Lama matza'asnu kol zayis, why are we in this sorrow? Why am I threshing wheat in a winepress? Ayei kol niflosav asher sipru lanu avosenu. Where are all the wondrous things that our forefathers told us about, the miracles of Mitzrayim? Halom in Mitzrayim alanu Hashem, that God took us out of Mitzrayim with all the nisim. V'yata natashanu, God has rejected us, God has forsaken us. Hashem, b'yitnenu b'kaf Midyan, He put us in the hands of Midyan. What do you mean Hashem is with me? Hashem has abandoned us. Hashem has left us. Vayifen elav Hashem. So now Gideon sees Hashem is talking to him. So in other words, Gideon thought he was talking to a person. Now HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself and says to Gideon, Lech b'keicha chazeh, go with your strength and power. Hoshata es Yisrael. Gideon didn't expect to be a leader. Hashem says, you will save Yisrael mikaf Midyan, from the hands of Midyan. Haloi shelachticha, I am sending you. You are the man. Now again, even though it says Hashem, it really means the Malach is talking to him in the name of Hashem, and Gideon now realizes this is a Malach. Vayomer elav, right? The reluctant leader is a very common idea throughout the Torah and the Nevi'im. Be Adonai, please my master, be Adonai, b'mau shias Yisrael. How can I be the one that will save Am Yisrael? Hine alfi hadal b'menashe. My family is the smallest of all of the families of Menashe. We have the least influence. It's not only a matter of numbers, it's also influence. And Anochi Atzoir b'beis avi, and even within my own family, I am the youngest and least significant. Vayomer elav Hashem. And Hashem said to him through the Malach, Ki ehyeh imach, I will be with you, and with me you can do anything. V'hikesa es Midyan ki ish echad, you will be able to kill and smite Midyan as if they were the only one person. Vayomer elav, and now Gideon says, Imna matzasi chen b'einecha, if I have found favor in your eyes, asiso li o shata medabrim. In other words, now Gideon is mesupik. Am I talking to a malach, or maybe it's just a person? How do I know? Give me a sign that it's you, Hashem, that is talking to me, and I'm not just talking to a person who is simply saying something. And this is the sign. Al na tamush mizen, as he's talking to the malach, who looks like a person. Do not leave this site, ad bayi elecha, till I come back. Hotseisi es minchasi, I'm going to bring a korban to you. Hinachti lefanecha, I will put it on the ground, and I want to see what happens. Vayaymar, and the malach said, Anoichi eshev, I will stay here, ad shuvecha, until you return. V'gidayin ba vayas gedi izim, he prepared goats, v'efas kemach matzos, and a large measure of matzah. Habasor some basal, the meat was in a basket. Hamarak some baparur, and he spooned over the meat, even the gravy. Vayotze elav el tachas ha'elav vayigash, and he brought this korban under the tree. Vayomer elav malach elokim, and the angel of God now spoke to Gideon. This is going to be the sign that this is a malach. Kach es habasar v'samatzos, take the meat and take the matzah. Hanach el asala halaz, put it on that rock. V'yes hamarak shvoch, and pour the gravy over the basar. V'yas kain, and Gideon did it. V'yishlach malach Hashem es ketzei hameshanet asher biyado. The malach Hashem took the tip of the staff, like his cane, that was in his hand. Yiga babasar v'matzot. He touched the meat and the matzah, and what happened was a fire was ignited from the rock. Vatal ha'esh min atzor, a fire came up from the rock. Vataychal es habasor ves hamatzos, and it consumed the meat and the matzah. Umalach Hashem halach mi'einav, and in the fire, the malach of Hashem disappeared. So now Gideon knows, as the pasuk says, Vayar Gideon ki malach Hashem hu. Gideon now sees this is an angel of God, and he knows therefore that he now has a mission from Hashem to be the Moshiach of Yisrael against Midian. Vayar Gideon ki malach Hashem hu. Vayomer Gideon, aha, alas, Hashem Elokim, ki alkein reisi malach Hashem panim el panim. I have seen an angel of God face to face. Gideon now has a different problem. Perhaps I gazed at the Shekhinah, and I'm going to die because of that. Vayomer le Hashem. So Hashem gives him a message. Now here, the malach is not here anymore, so it appears that Gideon is hearing directly from Hashem. Shalom lecha al tira. Peace will be unto you, do not be afraid. Lo tamos. I gave you a mission. If I'm giving you a mission, I'm not going to kill you before you do your mission. Again, there are many, many halachic issues here, which unfortunately we don't have time to address. Number one, there is already a Mishkan in Shiloh, so you're not allowed to bring korbanos outside of the Beis HaMikdash. How could Gideon bring a korban? Number two, it seems almost as if Gideon is offering a korban to the malach, and that you're not allowed to do. So we have to say he's offering it to Hashem, and the malach is just giving him instructions. But as I say, there are difficulties regarding this korban. And then the pasuk says, and this is going to be yet another halachic problem, Vayiven sham Gideon mizbeach l'Hashem. At that site, he built a mizbeach for Hashem. Vayikra lo Hashem shalom. And he gave the mizbeach a name. Hashem is the God that has given me peace. Meaning, this is a haida'ah that Hashem did not destroy him, gratitude. And Ada Yemazen says Shmuel, even to this very day in Shmuel's lifetime, Odenu bi'afras Abiezri, it is in the city of Afra, belonging to the family of Abiezer. Now the Mefarshim explained, this is a Madna thing, he did not build an altar so that korbanos will be brought upon it, because in point of fact, korbanos cannot be brought in an altar outside of Shiloh. So you actually see, the Mefarshim say, that sometimes a Mizbeach was erected to be a memorial or a zecher of a divine encounter, even though it was not used for korbanos. So that's an important chiddush. Mizbeach does not always mean an altar upon which you bring korbanos. Okay. So now Gideon knows that Hashem was speaking to him. Gideon knows that he has a mission. But before he can do his mission, there's something preliminary he has to do first. And Pasuk Chafei says, Vayihi balaylo, that night, Vayomer le Hashem. Hashem came to him, presumably in a dream. Kach es par hashor asher liavicha. Take the big bull, the big ox that your father owns, and upar hasheni, and another ox, Sheva Shanim, that is 7 years old, that your father has been fattening for Avodah Zarah. You'll see why we have these two parim. V'harasta es mizbach habal. Again, the point is that before Gideon could defeat Midian, he has to eradicate the Avodah Zarah in his own family. Now, his own family, his own father Yoash, had a mizbeach to the Baal, to the Canaanite god Baal. And he was fattening up a par for 7 years to bring as a korban to Baal. So Hashem says, take the big ox, that is your father's work animal, and that ox will help you demolish the Mizbeach. Take the second ox, that's for Avodah Zarah, and your job is destroy the Mizbeach, destroy the Asherah, the trees that were planted also as part of the Avodah Zarah. Ubanisa Mizbeach, and build another altar again, not for Korbanos, besides the one you built, which was called Hashem Shalom. Build another altar for Hashem. Al Rosh HaMaos Hazeh, on where the Avodah Zarah was. Apparently, I'm not sure how you would know by looking at it that one is Hashem, but apparently there would be some sign that this is for Hashem Elokei Yisrael. V'lokachtes apar hasheni, and the second par that is dedicated for idolatry, shecht it, and bring it as a korban, with the wood of the Asherah that you cut down. Again, there are gazillions of halachic problems here. First of all, an animal that is being fattened for Avodah Zarah is actually puzzle for a korban. Second of all, an Asherah is puzzle for a korban. And third of all, it's outside of the Mishkan of Shiloh. So all of these are haras shah. See, the korban that Gideon brought on his own, that's shver because he wasn't given divine authorization. But all of these things, which are al pi Hashem, is nichlal in what is called a haras shah, and Gideon was allowed to break the rules under these circumstances. In other words, destroy the Avodah Zarah and bring a korban for Hashem. Because you cannot be ready to be Moshiach Shel Yisrael until you eradicate the Tumah in your own home. Like Avram destroying the idols. And the Pasuk says, Vayikach Gideon Asara Anashim Mi'avadav. He took 10 men to help him out. Vayas Kasher Diber Elaf Hashem. He did what Hashem said. Vayehi Kasher Yorei Es Beis Aviv Es Ansheyer Mi'asos Yomam Vayas Laila. But because they were afraid that if they did it in the day, they would be stopped by the city and by the family, his father's family, they did it at night when nobody would be around. V'yashkimu anshi oir babayker. And when the people got up in the morning, v'hinei nutzatz mizbach habal, they saw that the altar of the Baal was destroyed and the Asherah was cut down and the par sheni was was killed, no longer here. Vayomer ishel re'ehu mi asa davar hazeh, who destroyed our Avodah Zarah? Vayidrishu vayuvakshu, and they made their investigation. They got the FBI or the Mossad. Vayomru Gideon ben Yoash asa davar hazeh. It was Gideon who destroyed the Avodah Zarah. Vayomru anshe yair el Yoash, and the people of the city said to Yoash, Haitzias bincha vayamais, give us your son so we may kill him. Ki notatz as mizbach Baal, he destroyed the altar of Baal. V'chi karas o Asherah shov, and he cut down the sacred Asherah tree. So it's interesting that Yayash is better than Terach. Terach was willing to throw Avram in the fiery furnace. Yayash is an idol worshiper, but he wants to protect his son. Interesting thing. Vayomer Yayash, l'chol asher amdu alav. Yayash said to everybody that is standing against him to deliver his son, Ha'atem trivon labal. Hey, wait a second here. If you guys believe that Baal is God and Baal is so powerful, you have to fight to protect the glory of Baal? Let Baal fight his own fights. If Baal exists, he'll punish my son. Baal doesn't need you guys to help him out. Ho'atem turivun labal. Are you going to fight for Baal? Imatem toshian oso. Are you going to save Baal? Asher yoriv lo yumas ad boker. Anyone that fights against Baal, Baal will kill by the next morning. Im Elohimhu, if he's God. Yoriv lo, he'll fight. Ki natas es mizbecho. Because my son broke his altar, whoever did. So it mentions here, Vayikra lo bayomahu Yerubal lemor Yarev bay habal ki nasatz es mizbecho. So from that day onwards, Gideon acquired a new nickname, Yerubal, which is a contraction, Yarev Baal, let the Baal fight against him. Yerubal, let the Baal fight against him. Ki natatz es mizbecho, because he smashed his altar. But Chazal actually say there's a double meaning here. They called him Yerubal as if to say, let the Baal fight him. May the Baal hurt him. But Yerubal can also mean he fights against the Baal. So Gideon has the name that says he fights against the Baal, even though they meant the Baal will fight against him. Okay, so now Gideon got rid of the Tumah. Gideon is now ready to fight the enemy of Midian. And in Pasuk Lamed Gimel, V'chol Midian v'Amalek uvnei Kedem, Midian, Amalek, the children of the east, these are the other Bnei Keturah, Nesfu Yachtav, they were gathered together, V'yavru v'yachnu b'Emek Yisrael, and they are assembled in the valley of Yisrael, not Yisrael, Yisrael, which is the center of the country. V'ruach Hashem lavsha es Gideon, and the spirit of HaKadosh Baruch Hu enveloped Gideon, giving him courage and understanding. Vayiska b'shayfer, he blew a shayfer to assemble people. Vayizoek Aviezer Akrav. So initially, the people who followed him were his own family. The family of Aviezer, which you'll remember, is a sub-clan of Menashe. Umalachim shalach b'chol Menashe, he sent emissaries in all of the tribe of Menashe. This is on the west side of the Yarden. Vayizoek Gamhu Acharav. And they followed Umalachim shalach B'Yasher, Zevulun, Naphtali, Ya'alu, Likrasam. So again, it's interesting that this is a regional conflict. He is not getting all the tribes, but Menashe, Asher on the Mediterranean coast, Zevulun, Naphtali. Now, what's interesting is, Zevulun, Naphtali, and Menashe fought in Devaira's war. Asher did not. It's interesting, though, that in this war, Asher is participating. Perhaps they took Devaira's rebuke very, very seriously and are now participating. Vayomer Gideon Elokim, and then Gideon has one more question to ask God. Now it's interesting. Until now we're using the Shem Hashem, which is Midas Harachamim. This is the first time we move to Elokim, which means we're going to see that Gideon has cold feet, because he's wondering that even though Hashem has given us a mission, perhaps we will lose the bracha because we're not worthy and we have chatoim, and the midas hadin might be shaylite. And that's why it switches to Elokim. And then he said that's why he wants a test, because once Hashem gives a physical sign, that will never change. The ice concretizes the nevuah and makes it irrevocable. And now we're going to see the ice. If you truly mean that I will save Am Yisrael, and Chatoim will not take it away, I ask you to concretize it in a physical sign. And what is the physical sign? I am taking a piece of wool fleece in the threshing house, and I'm going to leave it overnight. Im tal yiya al hagiza levada, v'al kol haaretz chayrev. If in the morning I wake up, and there is dew and moisture on the wool, even though the rest of the ground is dry, v'yadaiti ki seishia biyadi es Yisrael kasher dibarta. That will be a sign that I will save Am Yisrael. Again, even though Hashem already said it, but until the nevuah is concretized in an ice, Shema Yigrom Hachet. Vayehi chen, and indeed this is what happened. Vayashkem mimacharas, Gideon woke up in the morning. Vayazer es hagiza, he shook the fleece. Vayometz tal min hagiza, and he was able to squeeze dew from the wool. Molai hasefel mayim, it filled up a whole basin of water. So Baruch Hashem, that's sign number one. But then Gideon says, Vayomer Gideon Elokim, Al yichar apchabi, do not get angry at me. V'adabra achapam, I want to speak one more time. I want one more sign. Anasa na rakapam begiza. One more test. Yi na chayrev el hagiza. This is reverse. Let the wool be dry, levada. And on the ground let there be dew. V'yas Elokim kain b'layla hahu. V'hi chayrev el hagiza levada. This is the opposite. The wool was dry, the alkola oretz hayatal, and the ground was wet. So we had the sign both ways. The Malbim does explain what is the purpose of these two different signs. So he wants to say that the ground represents the people, and the wool represents the leadership. And Gideon is afraid of two things. First is he worthy enough to save Am Yisrael, even though he comes from a house of Avodah Zarah? So the wetness of the Giza, tal is a siman bracha. So the Giza being wet basically says, he is worthy, even though the nation is dry and the nation is not necessarily worthy. He is worthy of being a Moshiach. So the first siman establishes that he is worthy and his chatoim are not going to be Maineya Yeshua. But he's still worried, even if my sins are not going to be Maineya Yeshua, maybe their sins will be Maineya Yeshua. So the second siman is the ground being wet in a miraculous way, because the wool is not wet, shows that the Shefa Bracha will also come in the Zechus of Am Yisrael. So now Gideon knows that he is the designated Shaliach of Hashem, and the Nevuah has been concretized in a physical ice. Again, unfortunately, we don't have time to be ma'ayin. I just want to point out that the Rambam writes in the Hakdama, both in the Hakdama to Perish of Mishnayos and in the Mishnah Torah, that positive Nevuos will never be revoked. If Hashem gives you a Nevuah l'toif, it will never be chayzer. Only a Nevuah l'ra can be cancelled, not a Nevuah l'toif. According to that, therefore, one can ask a kasha, and I will just leave it as a question for you to think about, and that is, why would there ever be a need to concretize a positive nevuah through an ice, since as soon as the nevuah is communicated, it becomes irrevocable? Right? So l'chayra, the whole concept of concretizing a nevuah through a physical ice to be sure that it's not going to be taken away seems to be a contradiction of the Rambam's Yisait. Again, for right now, we'll leave it as a tzorech iyon, and it's something for you to work upon. Kol tov and shalom.